screen. So that's fine. You can see the presentation.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank the TRAC committee organization for accept this communication to this webinar series. So I will speak about my research, which combine the management of the imperfection data and the knowledge of the settlement dynamics during the Roman and late antique period. So it's a subject that, as Sarah told you, I present as a poster to the TRAC conference this year. So I hope that in this conference I can explain a little bit more about this research. So I'm sorry because my English is not perfect, but I hope you are going to understand the most important information. So my presentation will be divided into 3 parts. So first of all, I think that it's important to explain which are the data uses, which is my comprehension of this imperfection of data, and give you some definitions before to start to explain the proposal approach that I'm developing. And finally, I will give some examples of application of this methodology. So as everybody know, the problems with the archaeological data are very various. So here in this table, I try to summarize the principal issues of archaeological data. So, for example, the variety, the vagueness, the ambiguity, the partiality, or the incompleteness of the archaeological data. So, for example, when we are studying the settlement pattern, normally we work with different scales. We are working with data which are collecting by different techniques. For example, a survey, excavation. The data could be in different coordinate systems, and the responsible of archaeological interventions are different too. And this is important too because of the formation of each archaeologist. So the variety is one of the most important issue of archaeological data, but we have more problems. So for example, the vagueness. So we have datation with a lot of vagueness. We have interpretation of the use of the same site or many sites with vagueness, and we had vague descriptions in the reports, for example, or in the literature. In another hand, we have the ambiguity. So, for example, we have ambiguous dates. We have different possible interpretations for the same site. We have ambiguous description in the reports and in the bibliography. Then we have the partiality. So we have archaeological interventions with specific aims. So because we are doing our PhD, for example, and our aims are different than the aims of another research. And we have the partial studies too. So, for example, when we are using data from the preventive archaeology, for example, it's different than when we are using data from the archaeology from the research, for example, because when we are using data from the urgent archaeology, the data that we have are very partial sometimes. And finally, we have the incompleteness. So we have some publications that are incomplete because the publication is with a very specific topic, for example, and we have incomplete intervention too. So with these issues, yes. And I started to think about these issues of the archaeological data and how to manage these problems. So I decided to know about some concepts that I think that are important. So here you can see the three concepts that I use in my approach. So firstly, the uncertainty. So it's the doubts we may have about the correspondence between a piece of data and what it's intended to represent. So for example, if I say, I think that it's a late Roman villa, but I'm not sure, that's not certain. But if I say the principal building has a courtyard, that is more sure. So the other concept is the imprecision. So it's the degree of detail or amount of information a piece of data provides. So for example, the villa has a chronology between 3rd and 4th century. So it's not very precise. But if I say this phase of the villa dates is from the 4th century, it's more precise. And finally is the inaccuracy. So it's the difference between a piece of information and the true value. So, for example, the villa is located in an altitude of approximately 550 meters. But if I say the villa is located at 547 meters, is more accurate. So, with this dimension of the imperfection of the data, we can understand the imperfection with these dimensions inside. So the incompleteness, the ambiguity, and the uncertainty, the imprecision, and the vagueness. So I understand that the vagueness is composed with uncertainty and imprecision. So this is a model that I use, but in the bibliography, there are a lot of researchers which prefer to use another concept. For example, there are a lot of researchers who think that use the concept of imperfection is like say that the data are not perfect, but it's not in this sense. It's in the sense that the data have some issues that we need to measure and manage. So if we take this concept, we can have some more specific issues that we can explain. So, for example, for the location, if I take the data with GPS, sometimes I have a very big error. So it's depend of the GPS that I use, but it could be 2 meters, 8 meters, or only 1 centimeter. So it's depend of the tool that I use. So that it's important to take in account. Another thing that we can have for the location is that they are data in different reference coordinate system, especially if I'm working with data from 2 countries, for example, or with data from very ancient bibliography. For example, in Spain, we have different reference coordinate systems in the archaeological chart. So we need to take in account these issues. And finally, we need to know who is the person who take this information, the description about the location, because sometimes, for example, in the literature, we can read the site is in this village, but we don't have any other explanation. So with this information, we can't put a point in the map. For the datation is the same, but I think that we have more problems with the datation. Is one of the big issues of the archaeological data management, and we don't have the solution yet. But for example, here in this graphic, I try to explain some of these issues. So, for example, if we are if we read a report which say that a site is from the High Roman Empire, maybe the chronology that this author use, it's not the same than another author in another part of Spain or in the world use. So it's very important to consider this change in the chronologies, but in the level of the chronologies too. And finally is the interpretation. So as I said, we have a lot of problems in archaeology with this, because a site could have many interpretations, and it could have many phases with many interpretations. So it could be a hill fort, a farm, a villa, and if we are reading the archaeological register between two or more archaeologists, maybe the interpretation is different between the three of them. So, taking into account these issues, I was thinking about this problem that it's not new in the bibliography, because we have some approach to this using fuzzy logic, statistics, and a lot of approach. But I will try to propose something that it could be easier to everybody, not only for people who know the new technologies, or that he or she don't have any knowledge about the computer science. So I'm trying to simplify this approach with this methodology. So what do we do? So firstly, I propose to evaluate the data that I have. So if I'm working in a region of Spain, in the north of Spain, for example, it's not the same than if I'm working in the south, or in France, or in England. So I need to evaluate the data. Secondly, I need to set some criteria for evaluating these data issues. So as I said, we have different dimensions of this imperfection. And finally, consider those little bugs in the GIS analysis. So that's not the final objectives, but I think that if we consider this imperfection or these issues in the GIS analysis, we can be more honest with the other researchers. So I spoke about these issues, but how I can manage these issues in reality. So as I said, I take in account these three dimensions of imperfection: uncertainty, inaccuracy, and imprecision. And I put some criteria for each of them. So here I have I summarize the different criteria for my corpus. So the criteria are adapted to my corpus and my study areas, but they can be modified or adapted by researchers to suit them to their own corpus. So first of all, we have the imprecision. So I applied the imprecision to 3 categories: the typology or the use of different phases of the sites, the location of the sites, and the datation, because I'm studying the Roman settlement dynamics, so that was very important for my research. And I create, for example, for the typology, a table that you have a summarize of this table on the right. So in 3 levels. So the level 1 is the most general one. So if I have a site, for example, which is I don't know, Hamlet, so it's a very big group. I can't precise more, so I will put a number 3, which means that the information is not very precise. And if I have a site, for example, which is a small villa, which is a 21, so I can say that the use in this case, in this phase of the site, is with a value 1, because the information, the data are precise. So here is very important to categorize the sites, to put the definitions of each category. So which is a rural habitat, which is a villa, a small villa, a big villa, because when we are studying the sites, in my case, I use the archaeological survey. Sometimes it's very difficult to know if a site is a small villa, a big villa, because the remains are not very precise. So it's very important to put the description of every category. So I did this with every dimension of the imperfection, so imprecision, uncertainty, and inaccuracy, and applied them to use, location, and datation. In the case of inaccuracy, I only applied this to the location, because in my opinion, we can't know with accuracy if it's a villa really or is not a villa. So I apply only for the location, so with the coordinates of the location of the sites. So here I put one example of this application, but in the table. So this I put this image because I think that is easy to understand. So for example, in this case is the site which calls Monterrueda. And here, for example, the location, the value that I have for the certitude is 1, for the precision is 3. So it means that the precision of the location is not good, but the accuracy of the location is good. That there are some differences between precision and accuracy, as I said before. And finally, I put the phases of each site. In this case, the site has 2 phases. So the first one is a farm, that is a category A3. And for example, for the phase An, which is between until the 4th century, the certitude of the datation is 2, but the precision is 1. So the objective is to complete this information for each site with this value from 1 to 3. And then with some formulas, I try to measure the quality of the data. So I will use this formula that I put here. So firstly, I tried to do this automatically. So calculating the formula with a software, but finally speaking with one of my colleagues, which is a computer scientist, he told me that the results wasn't very good because the formulas didn't represent our objective. So finally, I decided to use a formulas which is adapted to the objective of this measure that I want to use. So, for example, here you have the every formula that I use. So, for example, for the typology, I will take in account the certitude in a 50% and the precision in a 50%. So with this, I will have a value between 3 and 1. So if the value is more close to 3, the data quality is poor, and if it's more close to 1, the quality of the data is better. So with this methodology, we decide last year to develop one framework with a student of computer science, only to try to start to develop something which could be used for more people. So the objective of this framework is to put your data set with some instructions that we give, but it's only Microsoft Excel. It's not very complicated. It's only a table. And then the framework, the application, gives you a graphic about the quality of your archaeological data. So here, for example, you have a data set with a quality 1.8. So the quality, it's not very good, but it's quite good. And we can have to the quality of each dimensions. So for example, for the location, which is quite good quality, but for the datation and the typology, the quality is quite poor. So this is the practical explanation of how it's work, and I would like to explain with some examples the application of this methodology in the last 10 minutes that I have. So I will explain with a case from the north of the Spain. Is a region in the Pyrenees. So it's a region which takes Navarra and Aragon, near to France, and is one of the most is one of the most important region in the Roman period in Spain, because we have a lot of cities in a very small region. So we have another areas with most important sites, especially in urban sites, but here we have a very high concentration of urban places. So if you see, all the labels are the cities near to Pamplona on the left. So I decided to work in this area, and I work with 365 sites with all. And finally, we decide to revise all the archaeological reports, not only the bibliography, because as I said, I think that it's important to review not only the bibliography, but the archaeological reports. And with this, I applied this methodology. So here I put some examples of this. So if you see the maps on the right, we can see the representation of the archaeological sites in colors. So here we represent the sites with the good quality data of chronology on the top, so with the green pots, the green dots, and on the bottom we have the map with red dots, and there we have the sites with a poor quality of chronological data. So it's a way to represent our data, in this case with the archaeological sites, and know the distribution of these sites considering the quality of the datation data in this case, but also we can see the percentage of these sites in the table. And on the left, we can see another thing that it's important. I think it's only a graphic to show the difficult when we are working with a very various data, and when we are studying the settlement dynamics. So for example, here I'm representing the sites with a good quality datation, and the sites with a good quality datation and a good quality of typology. So it's to show that if we work only with data, with sites with a very good quality of data and typology, the number of sites is reduced highly for this region. So here we can think about this in order to decide in the analysis if we need to work with all the data, or it's preferable to work only with the high quality data. So this show us our quality, the quality of our data, but I think that it's important too, for example, to show to the other researchers the quality of our corpus, because if we don't know the quality of this data, maybe we are going to do the analysis with every data, and the models could be different than if we are using only the data with good quality. So here I will put some graphics to show the possibilities of this in the analysis of Roman settlement. So, for example, here I put the evolution of the active sites per centuries, and we have different color bars. So in gray, we have all the sites without considering the quality of the data. And then we have different colors considering the quality of the data. So the bar in green are the quantity of sites with good quality, and the bar in orange are the sites with poor quality. So if we see this for all the corpus, the difference are not a lot. So the evolution is the same in general, but we have some small changes if we considering only the good quality data or not. But for example, when we are looking for the farms, for example, which are a category of sites less studied in my region, we can see that if we use only the good quality data, we have a very a small group of sites, because in green we have the good quality sites, and in gray we have every sites with this category. So, and if you see the evolution of this kind of sites, is different if we consider every farms, or if we consider only the good quality data for the sites. And it's the same, for example, here with the villa. So here we decide to do a more precise analysis. So we consider every villa. So for example, for the 3rd century, we have 76 villa. But if we consider only the sites with a good quality of category, which we are more sure, we have only 53 sites. And if we consider only the quality of the data, I mean, for example, the sites that I have enough remains of 3rd century, this is reduced to 51 villa, and is the same for the other centuries. And on the right, you have another example of this. So here is one analysis about the distance to water courses from the sites. So if we consider only the sites with a good quality of location, so the bar in green, the results is different than if we consider every rural sites, which is the gray bar. So here I would like to show you some application in order to show the possibilities of this approach. But we can represent two in another way. So for example, here you can see the different sites with a number on the left and every centuries. So my researchers are focused on the Roman and late antique period, but here I put the phases after the Roman period in order to know the evolution of the sites after the decline of the Roman Empire. So here we can show the same thing, this representation of quality, but we represent this with colors. So for example, in orange we can see the villa with a good quality of datation, and the colors more clear are the less quality datations. So it's I think that it's interesting to show this, because we can see that for example, for some periods we have more data with more quality, and in another periods, for example, during the high medieval periods, we can see that the data are poorer. So I think that combine this analysis during the Roman period with the beginning of the medieval period allow us to have more answers to the study. And finally, here I put a study case of one of the cities that I showed you in the before. So here is Osca, is one of the most important city during the Roman period and after in this region. And here we have with green dots the sites with a good quality of the data, of the datation of the data, and in black we have the sites with a poor quality. So here I think that if you see the evolution of the settlement pattern, you can see that if you consider only the green dots, we don't have a lot of information about the settlement patterns of linked to Osca, but if we consider every site, the settlement patterns change. So I think that this allows us to think about the data which we are using when we are working with settlement patterns, not only in Roman period, but in the other periods, and especially when we are working with this analysis, because sometimes we are managing a lot of data and we are not thinking about these issues. So, well, I have 2 minutes, I think, but the perspective and the challenges for the futures that I have, I think that are a lot, as the other researchers who are working on this topic. So the proposal allow a more complete management of the imperfection of archaeological data, understanding imperfection in the way that I say that it's not that the data are not perfect, it's only that data have some issues that we can manage. So some issues that we need to solve. So we have issues in the standardization of the site typologies. That's not new. It's a problem in every settlement pattern analysis. And I think that this is more complicated when we are working with Roman sites, because we have the Latin typologies, but we have the archaeological vestiges, and sometimes it's not very easy to merge the Latin typologies with the archaeological reality. Then I think that I need to develop more the management of the imperfection of site location, because here I use only dots, coordinates of a dot, and I think that it could be interesting to use polygons too, because finally a site is not a point, it's a polygon. Then I have some issues with the terms used in the description in the archaeological reports, because there are sometimes ambiguous, as I said. So this is a subject that it's difficult to resolve. There are some works about this which try to measure the imperfection of these terms, but it's another thing to explore. And for the future, I would like to test this proposal with other data sets. For the moment, I test this with 2 data sets. My data set, the data set of another researcher who give me his data. And I think that it's important too to work in partner with another researchers in order to find more solution, because as I said in the bibliography, we have many proposals, many different approach to manage this imperfection. Sometimes the approach are complicated to apply if you don't have, for example, programmation knowledge. But I think that it's interesting to work together with the computer scientists in order to give them some ideas about our issues, to try to advance in this kind of topic in archaeology. So thank you very much. I hope you understood me, because my English is not very good. And I put here my Twitter account and my email if you have any question or if you have some ideas to improve this. And thank you very much.